Welcome to episode 3 of the Nothin or Triple Show, a movie podcast that's not even supposed to be here today. I'm Christian.
And I'm Ian. We have 6 things to talk about on this episode. 5 are news items that caught our attention.
Yeah, and 1 is an announcement that we simply don't care about because it's really dumb.
So dumb, you'll have to wait to the end of the episode to hear about it. Here's what we want to talk about in the meantime. First, we're going to talk about the Best Picture winner, Green Book. Then we'll get into some news about Terry Gilliam using the R word in the View Askew universe, and a newly announced project from some Oscar nominees, and a project from Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah, so it's been a couple days since the host list Oscars. I don't know. I don't have a whole lot to say about the ceremony itself. It was fine. There were some surprises. I was kind of bummed out. The moment when Alfonso Cuarón won Best Foreign Film for Roma, I knew that they weren't going to give it to him for Best Picture. So,
and that was your pick.
Yeah, and the Oscar, I'm not going to be able to accurately describe the voting process, but it doesn't always favor the top pick for everyone, which is how you get some like sort of mid-range consensus picks. It's how something like Crash wins, which was not regarded to be a good movie, or Moonlight, which was widely regarded to be one of the best movies of the year, but not favored to actually win Best Picture because of La La Land. But,
right.
So the voting occasionally presents a winner that's unexpected. I'm not sure Green Book was unexpected. There was a little bit of controversy about it, actually a lot of controversy about it, some because of Peter Farrelly's antics on the set of Something About Mary, some because the screenwriter, the son of the main character, tweeted an Islamophobic tweet back on September 11th, 2001, I think, somewhere around there. And then the big controversy was about the overall conversation about race in the movie. So from the first time I saw Green Book, which I loved, by the way, it's really, if you read our Oscar post, I said it was the 3rd best movie in the list. It really is a wonderful story, but I don't think it's a movie that sets out to solve racism for the world. It's not a movie that has its ambitions that high. It's simply the story of 2 people who have to learn from each other. And the acting was excellent. Mahershala Ali obviously won an Oscar. Viggo Mortensen easily could have won an Oscar. But to me, it's the kind of movie that matters because in my experience in the world, opinions are generally changed through relationships, right? That you meet somebody who comes from a different background or has a different life experience, and it's not a light switch. It's sort of the cumulative experience of being with somebody who's different than you that can shift your opinion, hopefully in the right direction. So
right.
It doesn't take a big swing for the fences like Black Klansman or If Beale Street Could Talk, which, it's to me ridiculous that movie wasn't nominated for Best Picture or Best Actress or any of the acting awards aside from Regina King, who was excellent. So anyway, it was a good movie. It won Best Picture. But you know what's exciting? Mahershala Ali today, we're recording on Wednesday here, it was announced to star in a movie called Sovereign that's being produced by some of the people behind both Stranger Things and Arrival. So it's one of these mysterious projects where they don't want to tell you what the log line is. He's great in everything he's in, and the team behind it's put some really cool stuff out. So I'm excited to see what that movie's about.
Yeah, the team looks fantastic. The Stranger Things, great. Arrival, amazing. Mahershala Ali, incredible actor. The next story we want to talk about is the delayed Man Who Killed Don Quixote from director Terry Gilliam.
Severely delayed.
It's delayed and only going to be released for one night.
It's delayed 30 years.
So Terry Gilliam is an incredible director who has a history stretching all the way back to Monty Python.
The olden days.
The medieval times of the Holy Grail. But he came up in the ranks of the Monty Python, and he's directed and written and directed some of my favorite movies. 12 Monkeys.
Yep.
Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Brazil, which is complicated in depending on which cut you watch. There's so many different versions of that movie, re-edited versions of that movie.
Fisher King.
What was the one with Heath Ledger?
Brothers Grimm? The Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus.
Right. Anyway, this movie has been a passion project of Terry Gilliam for 30 years. In fact, he's tried to produce it several times and failed. There was an award-winning documentary produced about one of the times he tried to produce it when Johnny Depp was attached. The movie's called Lost in La Mancha. It just shows about all the bad luck that happened on that specific production. Flooded out sets and the main character getting cancer, and it's just like the worst of the worst that could happen on any movie set. And so one would think that it couldn't get any worse. I mean, it's an incredible movie about trying and failing to make a passion project, trying to make this movie. And one would think it couldn't get any worse. And now this rendition with Adam Driver and Jonathan Pryce, I was excited to see it. And now, it's delayed again. There's he's had his fair share of bad luck this time around. Yeah,
this time legal issues from people who are claiming to have rights to the story. To me, what's especially interesting is the caliber of actors that have been associated with the project at one time or another. So Sean Connery was originally pitched by the studio that had first agreed to produce the movie as Don Quixote, and Terry Gilliam didn't think that was a good fit. But these are just some of the people that have been associated. So his Monty Python buddy John Cleese, Michael Palin, Danny DeVito, Robin Williams, Doctor Who Christopher Eccleston, Johnny Depp, Jean Rochefort, who's the guy who got cancer, unfortunately, Gerard Depardieu, Robert Duvall, Ewan McGregor, and now here we are with Jonathan Pryce and Adam Driver. So it's like this is, if this makes sense to anybody listening, Hollywood's version of Guns N' Roses' Chinese Democracy. It's finally happening. It's probably going to be disappointing. The reviews have not been great, but what the hell? It's a Terry Gilliam movie. We should be excited, and he deserves this. Like, I hope it's satisfying for him.
He certainly put the work in.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for him. Not holding my breath.
Yeah.
Next up, that blasted Kevin Smith. Half the time he's silent, and then other times he's making us say the word we don't want to say.
Well, ironically, when he's not playing silent, Bobby can't stop talking. That's a good thing.
Yeah,
he's wonderful to listen to.
So, for those movie savvy enough to catch our quote at the beginning of the episode, this was from the first Kevin Smith movie, Clerks. I'm not even supposed to be here today.
Yeah. One of the things, when I was looking up the clip just to sort of like figure out the inflection from the character Dante, and I noticed that he was wearing a Pittsburgh Penguins hockey jersey, and that's just like a terrible thing to do in general in life.
Who does that?
Yeah. So, that I was a little bit embarrassed for him, and I hope he doesn't do it again in this movie.
Why would you say that? I don't understand.
Right. So actually, so the new Jay and Silent Bob movie is called, I think, Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, maybe, something simple like that. The concept, oh God, we're not supposed to use that word. We committed to not using it.
One demerit.
Okay.
We need like a reboot jar.
Okay.
Like
so here's the thing.
Jar.
I think Kevin Smith would be on our side for this issue, right? Because the movie is making fun of Hollywood's obsession with reboots. So they just started filming. He did this great Instagram post saying that it was a year to the day, I think, or maybe a day later, since he had a heart attack that nearly killed him. And he describes the first act of the movie, or first 10 minutes of the movie or whatever, by referencing Tim Burton's masterpiece, Big Fish, starring Albert Finney, God rest his soul. And at the end of Big Fish, if you haven't seen it, spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, also shame on you.
What have you been doing with your life?
Right. So this character, Big Ed Bloom, who's been spinning all these tales for his son, he dies and they're at the funeral. And the real life versions of all these characters come to the funeral. And his son realizes that he really touched all these people. So Kevin Smith describes the first 10 minutes as all of the characters from his movies coming together. And then something happens. He says, this is a big goodbye, and then something happens that turns it into a great big hello. So Kevin Smith is a master of the meta narrative. He's self-referential, truly hilarious. He's always great with cameos. And I am super excited. So this is a year where potentially we're going to get a new Jay and Silent Bob movie and a new Bill and Ted movie. That's exciting to me.
Bonus for the nostalgia camp.
Yeah.
Are you at the risk of saying the R word again with this new with the next story?
No, that's why we're moving on.
All right. Get out of R word territory.
Yeah.
All right. Story number 4 that excited us this week is called No Glory. Based on a true story called The Rambunctious Patriotism and Worldwide Shenanigans of a First-Generation American in the Clandestine Service of a Grateful and Mostly Unwitting Nation. Why should we be excited about this movie?
Right. So first of all, the title of the original story is hilarious. I like rambunctious much better as an R word. The talent involved here. So we have Adam McKay, who directed The Big Short and Vice and Anchorman. So we know he's good with comedy. We know that he has a sense of the, sort of inner workings of the intelligence community. You see this in Vice, and that he takes like sort of a humorous but serious approach to the function of the U.S. government and military. And then Kumail Nanjiani, who was or is in HBO's excellent series Silicon Valley. But then he did what I thought was one of the best movies of, I guess it was probably 2 years ago now, The Big Sick. Amazon Studios produced it. And it got some awards recognition, but I should look this up before saying this, but I think that was also the year that the Meyerowitz stories came out, Noah Baumbach's movie on Netflix. And to me, those were two of the very best movies that were made that year, and neither one got the recognition it deserved. So he wrote that movie, he starred in it, The Big Sick, not the Meyerowitz stories. If you haven't seen it, go out of your way to see it. It's just a heartwarming and really very funny movie. Ray Romano's got a great supporting role in it. So anyway, the combination of Adam McKay and Kumail Nanjiani, I think it's going to be something special.
I agree.
Thank you for agreeing.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I can hear the fact that my voice is hoarse.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was textured and sultry.
Oh, thanks. I guess I should have a cold every week.
All right, moving on. This one is about a movie called The Kid, directed by Vincent D'Onofrio, starring Ethan Hawke and also including Chris Pratt and Dane DeHaan?
Dane DeHaan, yeah.
Dane DeHaan.
Valerian.
Of Valerian. He was also in one of the Spider-Man remakes as Hobgoblin,
yeah.
Also Adam Baldwin, who I love from Firefly, and also he's in Chuck. But
I think you mean Independence Day.
He is also in Independence Day.
Who cares what else he's in?
The brown coats will be on my side with.
Is this glass bulletproof? No, sir.
So here's the thing about this movie. It's a Western called The Kid, based on Billy the Kid. And Vincent D'Onofrio is directing. I love Westerns. I think Vincent D'Onofrio is one of the greatest actors of a generation, so as well as Ethan Hawke. I'm excited on face value for this. But then when you dig a little bit deeper, D'Onofrio is directing. He doesn't have a great track record yet for directing. So there's reason to kind of hold your breath a little bit. The trailer just dropped, which is it's a fine trailer.
I IMDb'd. So I didn't realize he had actually directed something before.
Yeah, well, I said he didn't have a great track record.
2.7 on IMDb.
Well, I was trying to be nice.
A horror musical. I think we have to watch this.
All right.
And maybe talk about it at some point.
Yeah. In future episodes, we want to approach a flavor of commentary called Film Fix. So maybe we'll review this under that category.
Yeah, maybe it's better than we expect. And I shouldn't laugh because I'm terrified of Vincent D'Onofrio.
Oh, he's amazing. I mean,
yeah.
He's an amazing...
He's a great actor.
He's a great actor. Sugar and Water.
Yeah. Best performance, Men in Black.
Should have won an Oscar for that one.
Yeah. Sugar. Don't do that.
I like snack. Anyway, but the most interesting thing about this movie, while I do wish them well, and I do hope the film turns out to be good and all that, that is not the most interesting thing about this story. What's happening is, well, first of all, before we get into the weeds on this, Ethan Hawke, who doesn't hide from his criticism from the Hollywood machine. He's not a fan of awards shows and things like this, but he's a very, very talented actor who does not get the credit that he deserves very often.
Yeah, so that's right. Good point. I think he is one of the best talents of his generation. Our generation, he's what, 40, 48? A little bit older than us. Anyway, he is an incredibly versatile actor. I was thinking about this the other day. So he was not nominated for his movie First Reformed. It was scripted and directed by Paul Schrader, the guy who wrote Taxi Driver and Hardcore. And he plays a preacher in upstate New York, I think, who, it's a sort of movie where you don't want to say too much about it, but he has a crisis of faith, and there's this really deep and unexpected and very interesting exploration about the relationship between faith and human behavior. The idea of free will and what human beings can control and what God has predestined for the human race. But it's sort of layered with socio-political issues of today. To me, it was one of the best movies of last year. It was certainly the best acting performance that I saw last year, and there were some really great ones. But he wasn't even nominated for an award, so I think he was robbed. But it also made me think of another movie that he was in a couple years ago called Predestination. It's this great, very clever sci-fi movie. To me, in some ways, just because it deals with time travel, it reminds you of Safety Not Guaranteed by Colin Trevorrow. But this is a movie that deals with the time travel paradox in a way that I haven't seen in any other movie. It's extremely satisfying and heart-wrenching at the same time. So please go out of your way to see Predestination. Tell everybody about it. And if you hate it, don't ever talk to me again.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen Predestination by the time you've watched The Kid and The Kid is not satisfying, then use that as a palate cleanser.
Yeah.
Because Ethan Hawke and Vincent D'Onofrio are good in just about anything that they do, even if what they do isn't good.
Yeah, and they were together on the Magnificent Seven remake from
Right.
Antoine Fuqua, which was pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. All right, let's talk about something interesting in this.
Well,
okay.
Chris Pratt was in that movie.
Right.
Trying to spread his wings a little bit.
So all three of them were in it.
That's right.
Right. And so Chris Pratt is the villain in The Kid.
Right.
I guess he was sort of a supporting character in Magnificent Seven, but it was an ensemble piece and he had his hero's moment. So
right.
He was sort of, I guess Denzel Washington's the main character and then there were equally important supporting characters.
He was thoroughly likable in that movie.
Right. So in this movie, he seems to play, based on the trailer, some sinister wife-beating villain. And I want to have a quick conversation about the success of the Chris's outside of their franchises.
Please tell us, who are the Chris's?
Okay, so there is Christian Klansky, who is me.
Who's the Chris's that people know?
Oh, sorry. They will know me. Right, so Chris Pratt, who's got Guardians of the Galaxy and now Avengers and the Jurassic World trilogy.
And the Lego movie.
And the Lego movie, although the second one bombed, interestingly.
Oh, I haven't paid attention to the...
Yeah, it was kind of weird. Then Chris Hemsworth, who's Thor and Avengers and now Men in Black. He's in Men in Black International.
Also Captain Kirk's father in the...
Correct, in Star Trek. Right, so then there's
remake, spin-off,
sequel, prequel, hybrid.
Not a
don't say the R. Okay, please bleep that out. Right, okay, so then Chris Pine, who is in Star Trek or possibly was in Star Trek. It's unclear what his status is right now.
Right.
Wonder Woman, and what am I forgetting for him? I'm forgetting something of his. Another franchise.
A franchise.
Maybe. Maybe not. Okay, and then Chris Evans, who was at first in the Fantastic Four, didn't go so well, but Captain America.
Snowpiercer.
Right. Yeah, Snowpiercer. No, but a franchise, like really he is one of the anchors, just like Robert Downey Jr. from Marvel. He's got his own series of Captain America movies. He's got the Avengers movies.
Right.
He showed up in Spider-Man.
He showed up in Spider-Man?
Yeah, remember when they were showing like the gym class, the PSAs?
Oh, the lesson of patience or
or
whatever. I was speaking of cameos, and this isn't really a cameo. I mean, it was a full-on role, supporting role, but Chris Pine was in the Into the Spider-Verse movie. He's the first Spider-Man at the beginning of the movie.
Right. Right. Yeah. Okay, that counts as a franchise because they're getting a sequel.
Where are you going with this history lesson about the Chris's?
So you asked me who the Chris's were. So,
all right, I did.
The Chris's are multi-billion-dollar dudes, right? They're anchoring some of the biggest franchises in Hollywood right now.
Can we coin that phrase, the multi-billion-dollar dudes?
I doubt it, but you can try. Don't put my name on the copyright because I don't want to get sued.
But you'd be one of the Chris's.
Okay, fine. Do put my name on the copyright. I'd like some royalties. Okay, so the point here is that, and I sort of feel bad for suggesting this, but I don't think that outside of their franchises, the Chris's have been especially successful. Which isn't to say that they're not talented actors or they haven't put on good performances.
Yeah, they're great in their franchises.
No, but I think they're actually great in some of the movies that they've been in outside of the main franchises, but they haven't found box office success. So like Michael Mann, one of the best Hollywood directors, but I don't know why I described him that way. One of the best directors, period. He did this movie a couple years ago about a hacker called Black Hat with Chris Hemsworth. Total dud. The director's cut's much better, but that just didn't do a whole lot. Chris Evans had this heartwarming movie. I think that's the second time I said heartwarming in this episode, but it was called Gifted, where he plays an uncle taking care of his genius niece, and it was a really well done movie.
Yeah,
didn't make much of a splash.
Chris Evans has done a few heartwarming, Lifetime style movies.
Yeah. Well, he's actually a really good comedian. He did that one. What's Your Number? Did you see that?
I don't think so. I saw one where he was a trumpet player in New York.
Oh.
It's a romantic movie.
Right. Okay. So then, Chris Pine, aside from Star Trek and Wonder Woman, he was in A Wrinkle in Time, which I think Disney intended to be a huge hit, and
right,
it was not very good, and I'm not happy about it because it's one of my favorite books. Hell or High Water, which
that was fantastic though.
Yeah, but
that's not a franchise though. That's just a one-off.
No. I'm saying outside of the franchises, they haven't been that successful.
I love that movie. Hell or High Water.
Again, I'm saying they're great actors. They're great in the roles, but the movies that they are in don't gain a lot of traction.
Right.
That was an indie darling, but it was not a big box office success.
Taylor Sheridan.
Taylor Sheridan
wrote that.
Yeah.
Before he started directing. No, he didn't direct it.
He didn't?
No, Taylor Sheridan's directorial debut was Wind River. So he wrote Sicario and Hell or High Water, and that he got enough attention for that.
That's right. David Mackenzie did Hell or High Water.
Right.
Okay, and then Chris Hemsworth, who, famously outside of the Avengers is known for his brief role in the National Lampoon Vacation sequel.
Right.
Nobody knows that. It was pretty funny.
Well, he's great in everything that he does.
Yeah, and then one of last year's best movies that nobody saw, Bad Times at the El Royale.
Right.
So anyway, my hypothesis, it's not a hypothesis. My feeling is that the Chris's deserve more respect outside of their franchises, but for some reason they're not getting it. So that could work out for us because it might force them to come back and play our favorite roles more often.
Right. So you think that they are trying to shed the branding of these roles. They don't want to become like, and one of them has been Captain Kirk, but in the way that William Shatner is Captain Kirk and it's hard to associate him with any other role. Right.
Or from Star Trek, the better example of that is Leonard Nimoy, who wrote an autobiography called I Am Not Spock,
right,
and then wrote a sequel called I Am Spock.
Right.
Once he understood how much his character meant to people. So look, I understand as an artist and a professional that you want to spread your wings and get outside of, avoid being typecast.
Right.
But to be fair, like their careers are being made by these franchises, and I think that it would be nice if they were willing to indefinitely return in some capacity. So Robert Downey Jr. seems to have found the right, the sweet spot, showing up for 10 minutes in Spider-Man.
As long as Disney will pay for the sweet spot, he'll show
or maybe
up for
even
it.
reduce your rates a little bit. But I love the idea of an interconnected universe where you don't have to kill these characters off or stop talking about them, that they can occasionally show up just like they would in the comic books for a few pages.
Right.
Okay, but talking about the Chris Hemsworth specifically, this brings us to our final point, which is a news story we simply do not care about.
Up until this point, this was all the news that caught our interest this week. And there was some interesting nuggets in there, but for the most part, it was a relatively slow movie news week.
Yeah, everybody was focused on patting themselves on the back at the Oscars.
And before the Oscars, whatever, manufactured drama associated with the Oscar was. But the most memorable movie-related news thing this week that just made me roar with laughter was a photoshopped meme of a photo of Chris Hemsworth as Thor. It was an image from Thor and had been photoshopped to make him look like
Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan. So Chris Hemsworth apparently is signed on to play in the Hulk Hogan biopic.
Right. And so here's the thing. We don't need a biopic of Hulk Hogan. At least not now. The Hulkster's still around.
Yeah. And he's still causing all kinds of trouble.
Yeah, I think our opinion of him is supposed to have changed based on the whole Gawker scandal. But
he single-handedly brought Gawker down.
Right. But look, to me,
he smashed them. He Hulk smashed them.
This is the star of Trouble in Paradise. It's the star of one of the probably greatest movies of all time, Suburban Commando, with Christopher Lloyd. Actually, can I say a quick thing? I know we're running low on time here, but the first time I saw Suburban Commando was when it came out on VHS. I don't think I saw it in the theaters. And I vividly remember I almost wasn't allowed to watch it after my parents had already rented it because the box said the movie was rated PG and the stamp on the VHS itself said PG-13. And I wasn't allowed to see PG-13 movies yet. So fortunately, the box went out and I got to see Suburban Commando and remember the hilarious line where the bounty hunter who never talks throughout the movie, kind of just like Silent Bob, when he finally talks, he says in a high-pitched voice, "You're a dead man, Ramsey." and it became evident why he didn't talk. And that was a terrible impression, but...
that sounded great to me.
One of my great movie memories. Anyway, who the hell cares about a biopic of Hulk Hogan, especially starring Chris Hemsworth? This is going to continue the trend of him making movies that people don't see.
Right. And not everybody can be as lucky as Sir Patrick Stewart, who gets to star in 2 franchises.
What?
So look, it's cool that these guys want to diversify their career and spread their wings and try different roles and seek new life and new civilizations. But I think they could take a page from Patrick Stewart's book in a career that he made in Star Trek and a franchise that was deeply beloved, and then went on to also be Professor X in the X-Men franchise and still work on lots of diverse and eclectic projects, and now coming back to star as Captain Picard again in the Star Trek universe.
Thank you, gods.
Yeah. I deeply appreciate that he recognizes how important he is to his fans and fans of the franchise, that you can do both. You can pursue new things, but just don't leave us behind. I don't know.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Chris's, be like Patrick.
Be like Sir Patrick.
Sir Patrick. Okay, I think you're talking nonsense, so we should end this episode.
Okay. Well, that does it for this episode.
If you haven't subscribed yet to the Nothin or Triple Show, please do so anywhere that you find podcasts. Visit us online at nothinortriple.com. If you accidentally spell nothing or triple.com, you'll also find us.
We bought all the domains.
Yeah, we did it all. And look for us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and on the street.
Should we tease anything for next week?
No, because I don't know what we're recording next week yet. Goodbye.